Hello, and welcome back to the DCAF podcast. I'm your host, Nigel Tommy, and as always, I'm joined by my co-hosts, Fuzzy and Charles. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Now, I'll be completely honest, I had no clue what we would talk about this episode. That is until I thought back to the previous one where we talked about the Duck States Navy, and realised we've never done one about the Army, and our Army. I mentioned it there as well, so I thought let's talk about that.
Oh, great. I mean, don't we need like a guest or something?
No, not really. I mean, if anyone's the expert on armies, it's us.
Yeah, alright.
So, where do we start? Well, there's a lot of things, but you know what? Let's go in chronological order. Let's start at the start. So, what did the DCAF start as?
Well, technically, we could say it's a merger between the ground forces of the Duck States and the ground forces of the Foxlands. But in reality, it really is just the Foxlands army, but upgraded through the years.
Yeah, because the Duck States didn't have much of a ground force, and, you know, the Duck States are ducks, so it's all very small.
Yeah, most of the army stuff that came over from the Duck States is basically the Duck Regiments. The Duck Regiments are just the Duck States army, and we are basically the Foxlands army.
Well, not exactly, as you said that the Foxlands army was absolute dog shit. But ours isn't it? Ours is magnificent, ours is great. Ours is perfect, clearly.
Well, yes, I did say that, but a lot of things have changed over the years.
Yes.
So what did, the Foxlands have? What is the basis for the DCAF?
Well, let's see. Well, we had, of course, the tank V1, V2, and V3, and the blue car and the bomb car from the colour conflict.
Yes.
And that's about it, I'd say.
What about the reserve units?
I mean, yeah, those were also introduced near the end of the Foxlands. So I guess, yes, we also had those.
God, the reserve units. Disgusting.
Oh, and the Jank tank we also had.
Really? The Jank tank is Foxlands?
Yes. Well, the tail end of the Foxlands, but yes, it was the Foxlands.
Huh, never knew that. But alright. So, the Foxlands army was a little shit, had vehicles which were becoming quickly outdated and outclassed, and then the merger happened with the Duck States.
Yes.
So, what happened then?
Well, obviously, because of the influence from the Duck States and, the war that they lost, it became quickly like, oh shit, we have to put a bit more emphasis on our military because we've got quite a big enemy. So we do that and we start making actual tanks, like the dry bomber. Our Air Force basically remains the same, just scrap our A1s. And our Navy also remains unchanged.
I think it's only the ground forces that have really changed through the years.
Pretty much. But yeah, you know the story from here.
Yes! The Duck civilization entered rapid militarization, making all sorts of things as weapons and defense and, getting ready for war.
Yes, and, we all got involved in it eventually. As you all know, Charles started a lot earlier and fought in the Desert War.
Yes.
And then we entered the DCAF.
Correct. During the production of World War scrap, we got introduced to Charles, and from there we entered the military.
Yes, well, you entered the military, I got dragged along.
Yes. But do you regret me dragging you along?
Sometimes.
I mean, to be fair, Fuzzy, you don't really seem like the type to fight.
No, not really.
Yes, but that's why he started originally as a medic, before switching to be a mechanic and tank driver.
Yes, I always take a bit more of the passive roles in the army. I just want to, help people. And although I couldn't really stomach being a medic, it was a bit too gory for me. So I ended up becoming mechanic and tank driver instead. Because, I like messing around with machines, I like tinkering. And driving the tanks is a lot of fun.
Yes, and I'd say that Fuzzy's probably the greatest tank driver in the world.
Oh, well, Nigel, you don't have to say that.
No, I think he's got a point. You are really good. And you're a fine mechanic as well.
Oh, guys, you don't have to say that.
But it's the truth, just like I am a amazing tank commander, and Charles is a decent gunner.
What are you talking about? I'm the best gunner.
Nah, I don't know about that.
Oh, you'll see when the war starts. You'll see.
So, lads, what do you like best about the army?
Oh, the thrill of battle, the beer, the power and status.
I don't know. Just fun hanging out with people and fighting for my country, of course.
Yeah, I mean, that is, I think, the best part about being in the army. It's a very social environment. Something also I really like, as I said earlier, I love mechanical things. And there's a lot of vehicles.
Yes, a lot indeed.
I'd find it hard to pick a favourite.
Well, I know my favourite. That, of course, is the amazing Churchill Mark 7. Yes.
Of course you'd say that.
It's the pinnacle of our engineering.
Well, yes, but its gun is not that great.
What are you talking about? What were you going to say then?
The Archer. It's got a 17-pounder. What else is there to say?
Yes, but why would you pick the Archer? There's better stuff out. We have better guns as well. I'd pick the Mark III Knightsburg carrier over the Archer any day.
Well, no, the Knightsburg carrier's too big. It's too lumbering. You can't get it anywhere.
Yes, but driving the Archer's a pain because it's backwards.
Look, let's just agree to disagree, okay? Fozzie, what's your favourite?
Well, I do love the Cromwell, of course. I mean, that was the first tank we drove.
Yes, the Cromwell is a classic. Shame it's kind of shit.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's a fine tank.
Oh yeah, but it's basically as effective as a Val 5.
I mean, I guess that's true.
Well, I have heard, and this is actually a secret thing, but I have heard that they're planning to upgrade the Cromwell.
Oh, yes, I have heard of that as well. It's looking pretty promising from the prototype tests I've seen. They've been testing along with that new light tank design. Whatever the hell they called it. Reusing parts from other tanks, I think.
Yes, trying to streamline production. After all, we have thousands of models. Production's kind of a nightmare.
Yeah, that does make sense. Does that mean we've stopped producing some tanks?
Well, yes, we've stopped producing jank tanks. I know, it's a real shame. And V4s.
Dear God, how could they? How could they? Are they producing V5s now?
No, we've also stopped producing those.
And that's a real shame. Oh dear, no. How disgraceful. Oh.
I know, it's real sad, Nigel. Don't worry, we've got like 50,000 of them in storage.
Yes, we've produced way too many of them, I am aware.
So many, in fact, that some of them are being sold as cars now.
Did it take the guns out first?
Yes, they did take the guns out first.
Okay.
Which I don't know why you do that, because it's not a great car, the jank tank. It drives pretty horridly, and also it only has one seat, and not really any other place where you can store something. It's not a great vehicle.
But it's cheap.
Yes, it's cheap.
Wait, is that why we have 6-spots in so many things?
Yes.
We're just reusing all jank tank guns that we've sold.
Correct.
Oh my goodness.
I've heard we're starting to move away from using 6-pads. That's what I've heard, at least.
Yes, that's what I've been pushing for. We need massive guns to deal with those massive behemoths that are trotting around over in Duckmany. You think a 6-spot can take out an 8200, then you're bloody mad.
I think I could do it.
Of course you think you can do it.
I know, all you need to do is just hit right.
Whatever. It's fine. Have you also heard of the, what they call it, the balancing program?
Yes, I have heard of that. It's pretty recent, isn't it?
Yes. You see, some of our other designers, well, there's two kinds of designers really that are not from our main design team. Either they're shit, they're just straight up shit, which, I mean, our main design team also makes shit.
Well, no, every tank from the Duck Civilization's amazing.
Well, yes, kind of. Look, some of our stuff is less good, I'll just say that. Their stuff is awful. Straight up doesn't work, painfully slow, weird crew arrangements, terrible armour. So what we did the rebalancing program for is that we take those tanks and try and modernise them and fix them, and then the other stuff, those tanks way too bloody advanced. There's like 1,000 systems, half of those are unnecessary. In fact, I'd say more than half are unnecessary. And half of those unnecessary systems don't even work. And also, they're bloody expensive. We don't have the budget. Maybe in the future we can return to those designs, but they're going to need to be massively simplified if they want to go up on the battlefield now.
Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yes. Well, it's just a very new thing, and not many units have been changed. In fact, only one has been changed. And with one, I mean one singular tank. Not just a model, no, just one tank. It's a very, very new thing.
Well, Father, you said you did like the Cromwell, but I had a feeling you were going to say something else as well.
Oh yeah, the Cromwell was the first one we drove. So of course it's going to have a special place in my heart for that, but I don't think it's my favourite.
What is your favourite then?
Well, maybe those new prototypes look pretty interesting, but I don't know. I like a lot of our secret units.
Yes! Oh, those are great, aren't they?
Well, some of them are.
Yeah, some are stupid fucking things that don't work. Like the Jank Assault.
Also known as the Sample Stug.
Yes, awful. Yeah, some of the other stuff is pretty fun. Fast too.
Yeah, that's why I like it.
Fozzie, you just want to drive a race car, don't you?
Pretty much. So, kind of taking a page out of Snowchester's book here, but I do also like the BT-42.
Not the BT-7.
No, that's kind of really outdated and the controls aren't as nice.
That's fair.
But we don't really have that much that is just super fast.
Well, I think we have a handful of things, but, there's a scout vehicle. Scout car? I forget what it's called, really.
Yeah, those were also upgraded recently.
Yes, along with our old scout car.
Oh yes, the Frog.
Yes.
I'll be honest, the original Frog, no. Absolutely terrible.
Correct. I'd say it's probably the worst vehicle we've ever made.
Well, don't be so harsh on it. I think the FRST is probably worse.
I've no clue if that's actually its name, but I know what you're talking about, yes. That was also really bad. In fact, that was the worst tank. The Frog is the worst armoured car.
Not really that surprising, it doesn't really have much competition. We don't have that many armoured cars.
I think we basically only have the Frog.
Yeah, but it recently did get upgraded. We now have the Mark II, I think it was just called, or V2. I don't know, I'll be completely honest, I haven't been keeping too up to date with all these things.
Yes, you've been getting drunk at the pub.
Look, I'll decide how I'll spend my time, alright? No need to judge.
But yeah, it actually works now. It's actually drivable.
Does it still kill itself?
I think it might be possible, but if you're smart enough to use it, then you won't do that.
That's fair. Well, since we're talking about it, what's the worst stuff in our army? What do you think is bottom of the barrel? From our main designers, then. Let's keep it civil. Let's not make fun of our newer designers who don't really know what they're doing. Let's talk purely about our well-experienced design team. What's the worst shit they've churned out?
Well, I'm assuming you mean somewhat recent stuff, because if we're going from whenever, I'd probably say one of the reserve tanks, or the V1, perhaps.
What are you talking about? The V1's bloody beautiful. It's magnificent. It was the first tank. You can't expect it to be perfect now. But it's pretty decent, I'd say.
Yeah, just don't try to drive it anywhere with a bit of hills. Doesn't like that.
Yes, it is true. They weren't the greatest all-terrain vehicles, but they worked. And that's all they had to do. They were the first. So, yeah. I don't think we should go and judge really old stuff, really. What's more modern?
I don't like the Forest Guard.
Really? But it's a fast scouting vehicle. I thought you'd enjoy that.
Well, yes, but it's a pain to drive.
Well, yes, because its drive system was flawed. You said it yourself.
Yes, and I had to fix it. for every single one we had made up till that point.
Oh, calm down, Fuzzy. You're making it such a big deal. In reality, we only had like 20 of them built because we realised they were shit.
True. Pretty sure we still have 20.
Yes, because they're shit.
That's it, they can't aim up, they're hard to control. That's basically it.
They suck to drive and are basically impossible to aim. However, they are very important.
What do you mean? If you're talking about scouting vehicles, we've got better stuff.
That is true. However, it is expertly camouflaged.
You mean slapping a bunch of plants onto it?
Yes. And it was our first tank to use spaceship locks and neutral steering.
I suppose you have a point. The Forest Guard was the first tank to use neutral steering, as featured in its blueprints.
Yeah, along with the blueprints for the tank itself, there was also the triple bearing system.
Exactly.
But what do you mean, spaceship looks? It's made out of metal.
Yes, to the untrained eye, it looks like it's made out of metal. But if you have inspected the tank closely, like Fuzzy has, I think you know there's a spaceship lock on there.
Yes, the turret is made out of spaceship blocks. And the turret is bloody tiny. And it's open top. So that doesn't matter.
Yes, that's back when we fell for Duckman propaganda. Then, that spaceship blocks were lighter than metal and had the same durability.
In fact, spaceship blocks were better for armour. They aren't lighter, they're the same weight.
Yes, quite embarrassing. But what about you, Charles?
As I said, the FRST infantry tank. It's supposed to be a bloody infantry tank. It does not. It's faster. It's one of our faster tanks. And yet it's classified as an infantry tank. Makes no bloody sense.
Yes, and besides that decent speed, it has terrible mobility. It can't turn to save its life.
No, it cannot.
Absolutely terrible. But, right, what about you, Nigel? What do you think is the word? I mean, you said the frog earlier, but...
Well, I suppose we did bring it up earlier, and even though it's a secret unit, basically everyone knows about it. Simple Stug.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one. I think the best way we could classify this, the FRST is our worst tank. The Forest Guard is our worst light tank. The heavy armoured car, or frog, is our worst armoured car, and the Simple Stug is our worst tank destroyer.
Yes. Mobility is non-existent. Some weird experimental suspension system. It looks stupid.
Its armor is not super great.
Yes, and also the aiming mechanism and in fact the entire gun is weird. I think we'd call it here, chaps. We could probably ramble about our tanks and the army as a whole for another episode, or who knows how many. But I think I'd call it here.
Yeah, that's good.
I like how we all basically agreed on what was our worst stuff.
Well, yes, but there's not much of it that is very bad, so, not as many options.
I guess that's true. But hey, we don't really know how bad those are because they've never been used in battle, have they?
No, besides a few tests, not really. But alright. Thank you for watching and listening to this episode of the DCAF podcast. As always, if you have any requests, questions, topics, you name it, leave them down in the comments below, and we'll see if we'll talk about them or do an episode about them in the future. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and that being said, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Got any final words, chaps?
No, not really.
Well, oh crap, I just thought of who we could have had as a guest. We could have had Harris and Sam. Our other compatriots in the army.
Oh, yes! Oh, well, it's a bit late for that now, isn't it?
Wait, who the hell are we talking about?
Nigel, you know those guys. Harris, guy with the moustache, fine chap, was also there during recording of World War Scrap.
No.
Sam, guy with a funny accent, carries around a machine gun wherever he goes. Ginger.
No, sorry, doesn't ring any bells. I'm afraid those people don't exist.
What do you mean that they... Whatever.